Okay, so in my last video, I was asked, is it possible for this world to become a utopia? My first sort of gut reaction is no. Going by what I know about the principle of polarity and principle of balance, whoever it is that generated this world, if they did it to serve a particular function, which is polarity balance, and its function is to be a dystopia, like that is the purpose of the simulation, is to function as a dystopia so that the utopia can exist. Obviously, this is a hypothesis, but it almost would be like, can you make my shadow more formative? So then I guess a different question is, can we make this world less of a dystopia? And I think that that may be more possible. Can we decrease the level of suffering in this world? Maybe we don't have to suffer as strongly as we do, as intensely as we do. And I know that looking through history, we're certainly moving in that direction. I've argued that it's always been a dystopia, but it does seem, comparatively speaking, that we're moving to a greater state of balance. The key is, how do we go about doing so? There's a book called Walden 2. It was written by behaviorist B.F. Skinner, and in it, he wrote about a utopia. It's a fictional story, but his argument was that in order for there to be a utopia in this reality, people have to essentially be conditioned to a certain behavior, towards less problematic behavior, less violent behavior. Society as a whole has to be restructured, and this idea of freedom needs to be removed. And from birth, people should be conditioned towards behaviors that will ensure an overall sense of well-being. It sounds bad. And there was certainly a lot of pushback when he released the book, and also other books that he wrote in support of this idea. But while it's tempting to push back, I look at society right now, and what we have is the illusion of freedom. We're not actually free. So if there was a way to structure or restructure society where we are programmed and controlled, but not the way we are presently programmed and controlled, where there's a small amount of people that have the greatest amount of wealth and power, and that the entire system essentially is set up to keep us subjugated under this idea, under the guise of freedom, take that and throw it out. We're already controlled. Could society be controlled where in time, in 100 years, this world becomes less of a dystopia? I would say yes, but it would require a complete restructure of how we perceive both ourselves, our humanity, and even the idea of free will. And I feel like we're a long way from that. And maybe we're not. I don't know. I just feel like the road to hell is paved in good intentions, but I believe it certainly can be done. For example, if we lived in a society that maybe encouraged people to consume plants, fungi, things of that nature that helped open and expand the mind. If the consumption of certain plants and fungi, if you get what I'm saying, was as normative as the consumption of alcohol is normative, which is very destructive to the brain, destructive to the body, destructive to the spirit, then yes, we could absolutely lessen the suffering that contributes to this world being a dystopia. But once again, that would take a concerted effort. It would take education. That would take restructuring of our ideals of things that are considered normative, but it's absolutely probable. It's just, are we willing to do it? Are the people who have controlled our society to this point willing to give up their power? It would take a concerted effort from the masses to maybe stop fighting each other long enough to look and say, we want better. There are other ways of doing things. I mean, the system itself, it's there. That's why I don't believe that this world is some sort of prison and some sort of hellscape, because everywhere you look, there's something that could give you psychedelic effects, right? It's everywhere. If you eat the wrong plant, or I'm saying wrong, but you know what I mean, or a certain fungus, or you let a plant ferment for a certain amount of time, it gives you a psychedelic effect. So everything it's set up here for us to make our existence in this world less painful than it is. I mean, for every sickness, there is a natural treatment for it. A lot of our medicine is synthesized from plants. So the answers to the questions are contained in this reality. It's just, how are we functioning within it? So that's my answer to that. Can we make this world 100% a utopia? I don't think so, but we can certainly reduce the level of suffering here, make this world a little bit less of a dystopia, should we decide to. And then I kind of take solace in the fact that I'd mentioned the time dilation effect in the previous video, and I think it bears repeating. 16 hours here might mean 1,000 years in the fourth dimension, or in another dimension. I don't even want to limit to the fourth dimension. Something I like to tell myself is that when I go to sleep, Even the 8 hours that my body lays here could be 1,000 years reigning as a goddess or something, or living as a dragon, whatever, in another reality, in another dimension. We wouldn't really know. And when I say no, I mean like your brain allowing you access to something that you already have a memory of. That's what I mean by no, by the way. You just remember the knowledge is already contained within you. It's just what is the brain filtering out. So the learning process is actually more like a process of remembering. That's why you get that feeling when you hear something that resonates with you. It's not that I'm teaching you something or anybody is teaching you something. It's something that you know that you knew, but for some reason couldn't recall until you heard it. And that's why it resonates with you. Anyway, thanks for listening.